Welcome, everybody, and thank you for taking some time today to learn about the Azores. Now, you might have a lot of questions, and we'll be happy to answer some at the end. And hopefully, throughout this presentation, you'll learn a little bit about what personally I call home, my second home. I was able to spend some time there as a child. My parents are from the Azores, so I know a little bit about the islands, and I'm happy to share what I know with you and hopefully entice you to actually visit these magical islands in the middle of the Atlantic. Now, you may know that they are Portuguese, but you may not know exactly where they are or how to get there. And don't fret, we're going to go over that and what to do on the islands and what hotel, where to stay. We're going to cover a little bit about each island and also to go over some of the packages briefly that we can customize for you and or your clients. So thank you again for joining us on this webinar of the Azores, or also known as Azores in Portuguese. Now, where are the Azores? You may be wondering. Again, we're going to cover the accommodations. What is there to do? We're going to have some question and answers, and then our contact information at the end. So where are the Azores? The Azores are a group of 9 islands in the North Atlantic. So just a 2-hour flight from Lisbon and a 4.5-hour flight from the North American continent. So you may be wondering, okay, well, which airlines go there and how can I get there? So from the continental US, you have a few options. Seasonally, there's flights out of New York on Delta that just started this year. We're very excited about that service. And out of Boston, historically, is the way you get there on SATA Airlines, or Azores Airlines, rather. And there's daily flights seasonally and about 2 or 3 times a week in the winter. And then also seasonally, you have flights to and from Providence, Rhode Island. I believe that's weekly. So these are 9 islands that you can get to, again, from Boston, New York, possibly Providence. And then also, if you're in Europe, you can go from London or possibly Germany as well. So there's a few options. The Azores is a great destination that you can add on to a river cruise. So if you're on your way to Porto or on your way back, maybe stopping at these islands might be a nice little way to relax and unwind from your river cruise. So the weather is definitely temperamental sometimes, I have to say. So there's definitely 4 seasons. The summertime is the best time to go. That is their high season. So that's going to run from about June to September is going to be the best weather. But it's really not that bad all year round. I mean, April and May are absolutely magnificent. October and November are great. You're going to get a little bit more rain in the winter months. But it's still not going to be anywhere near as cold as it is in the northeast of the U.S., let's just say, so where you'll be flying from. So this is just a panoramic view of the island of St. Michael. So one of their towns there. As you can tell, it's quintessentially Europe. I mean, this is the closest place to in Europe to the North American continent. So if you want a quick European getaway, think of this as your destination. Now, you might be wondering, where can I stay? Well, there's a plethora of options for you. I mean, boutique hotels, larger chain hotels. These I mentioned on the website here. Azores Hotel is a great 5-star right in town, walking distance to all that downtown Ponta Delgada really has to offer. There's Pedras do Mar, a little bit away from the city. A beautiful, beautiful 5-star resort as well. Definitely not to be missed if you're looking to kind of go a little bit more secluded and away from everything. The Talisman is one of my favorites. In town, it's smack in the old colonial section. It has a great rooftop little swimming pool. Great way to go and unwind after a day of activities in Talisman. And then the Terra Nostra in the Furnas. This is definitely a place that you have to go see. It's won many awards for one of the top hotels on the island. It is definitely a small boutique hotel in a very secluded part of the island near the hot springs, which we're going to get into. But what they're really known for is their thermal baths. So we're going to see some pictures of those later. But in addition to these hotels, there's plenty of other options on the islands. These are just on the main island, which is São Miguel. But there are going to be many other options in all the islands. Now, why and what are you going to go do there? So on the main island of São Miguel, there's the hot springs. So this is a really unique destination. The air smells like sulfur, which will maybe put you back a little bit when you first get there. But then you get to enjoy the natural beauty that surrounds them. And actually, what the locals have actually learned to use the earth to cook in these hot springs. So you can sometimes see people throwing bags of corn to be boiled in that water right there. Or you might actually see some people dig a hole in the earth, put a pot in there, and actually cook for several hours in the volcanic soil, just the volcanic thermal heat. A nice cozido, which is something to definitely do. It's a Portuguese dish with meat, potatoes, and chorizo, amongst other things. And it's definitely something that you should experience going out to the hot springs. Excuse me. And then there's always canyoning. So this is basically rappelling down small waterfalls and just trekking through the woods. Primarily, this is done on the eastern side of São Miguel, but can be found on many islands. It's a fun activity. Definitely when it's a little bit rainier. So if you're going on the shoulder seasons like March, April, May, or November, you're going to definitely get more water and more cascades coming down the waterfalls. There's whale watching pretty much all year round. You can go mountain bike riding or bicycle riding throughout the islands. I mean, there's great, government tracks that they've created throughout all the years. I've seen them kind of come up, and they're absolutely breathtaking to do any sort of activity, hiking or mountain biking or bicycling around the islands with some great views. I mean, being surrounded by absolute beauty and nature. And then some of the lakes on the islands, you can go canoeing and kayaking. There's some golf on the island. And then the culture of these 9 islands, they're very much Portuguese, but they're definitely uniquely Azorean. You may know in all the islands around the world, they always have a sense of pride. It seems like I'm starting to notice around the world. And the Azoreans are definitely very proud of their islands, and they love to show their culture in many different ways. But in the summertime, there are a lot of festivities from the small towns on each island doing religious festivities or even just popular carnival, for example, they do on each of the islands. And then Terceira really does a great festival in the end of June. So for the São Joaninhas, for St. John's Feast. There's some great food to be had. Obviously, seafood is there. Abound on the islands. Caught fresh. I mean, you can see the fishermen actually go out on their small little dinghies and come back and sell their fish or to the local restaurants in the morning. You can definitely still see that on the islands, which is great. There's a picture of filetes. So those are basically fried fish, some broccoli, and some tartar sauce or aioli sauce. And then you also have some great desserts. I mean, this one particularly is of a passion fruit. Passion fruit grows on the islands very well. And you'll see a lot of pineapples grown on the island as well. And figs also. Oh, beautiful figs. Wonderful figs. So let's just go touch a little bit on each of the islands. You have the island of São Miguel, which is the main island. This is primarily where you're going to fly into. This is Ponta Delgada. The island is absolutely breathtaking. It's known as Ilha Verde, which is the green island. And it gets that name because it is very, very green. A lot of open pastures and volcanic formations and these lakes that just pop up out of nowhere. Really great to go kayaking again or canoeing. And just beautiful, beautiful landscapes in St. Michael. This is also a popular destination for cruisers on transatlantic. So since it's so well situated in the middle of the Atlantic, it's a popular stop for many transatlantic sailings. So you really, for one day, you get a taste of the island, but I can assure you, you're going to love it and want to go back. And here's a picture of those thermal baths that we were speaking about earlier. This is actually at that hotel that I mentioned earlier, Terra Nostra. So that murky water is actually minerals, and it's really great for your skin, and it's really beneficial for you health-wise to just kind of bathe in that water for a little while. You do come out I'm going to be honest, you're going to come out a little bit orange, but you can go right into the spa that they have at that resort and take a nice shower. San Miguel is also known for tea production. So tea was brought to the islands many, many years ago, and they keep up that tradition. And it's definitely one of the excursions you can do, or visit the tea factory for a day. And then you make it over to Santa Maria, so the Ilha do Sol, the Sun Island is what they call it. This is actually where I've spent most of my time. These are just it's a small island. I mean, the population is just over 5,000 yearly. So these are small villages scattered throughout this 97 square kilometer island. So you have these quaint villages that you can go and visit, but it's also known for the best beaches on the island. So the government on the island has made it very, very clear that they do not want high-rise hotels on any of their beaches, or at least in Santa Maria. And so you're not going to find many hotels on these magnificent stretches of beaches. Now the sand, they primarily have two beaches on this island, São Lourenço and Praia Formosa. And this is Praia Formosa. Praia Formosa tends to have more of a golden sand, and São Lourenço tends to have more of a black volcanic sand, but that can be found on both beaches, as you can see on in this picture right here. So great in the summer months to go relax on the beach. And here's a picture of São Lourenço. So this is actually a small little village, seaside village, scattered homes, 2 or 3 restaurants located right there. It's great to go spend the day there. What you see going up the cliffs are actually vineyards. So those are locally owned. Those are not mass produced. Those are people that still tend to their vineyards and every September do their winemaking. And then Terceira, the Happy Island. Terceira is second most populous island behind São Miguel. It is known for its festivities. So the São Joaninhas festival that I mentioned earlier in June. And then all throughout the summer, I mean, they have gastronomical fairs in August and other times of the year as well. So definitely it's more of the party island, but I don't want you to get the impression that it is the party island of like Cancun or something like that. That's not what we're discussing. That's not what we're saying here. These are more cultural celebrations and religious celebrations, but at night they like to let their hair down and have a good time as well. So as you can see, it's very colorful, the island. Each of the the windows are all painted different colors, and just a beautiful, beautiful island. Then you have Pico, which is home to Portugal's largest mountain. So the highest peak in Portugal is found in Pico. So you can do some great hiking on the way up, should the weather permit. And then there's just beautiful green pastures with a lot of cows. There's a joke about the Azores that there's more cows on the islands than there are people. That's very true. So the pastures in Pico are beautiful. Pico is also becoming more and more known for its vineyards and its winemaking. So these are actually, this is definitely post-season that you're seeing here, but this is where all the grapes grow, right here in between these rocks. Here, that's a picture of Fayal, which we're going to get to right there in the background. So absolutely stunning. And then you have the island of Saint Georges, which is really, really rugged island. It's a narrow but long island. It has its saltwater lakes or fazendinhas located at the base of the island, as you can see here. And as I was mentioning about the cows on the island, so our dairy is very, very good and very, very fresh. And the island of Saint Georges has really perfected its cheese. So the queijo Saint Georges, cheese of St. George, very, very popular. And then, as I said, it's very, very rugged. So you have these cliffs jetting down into the saltwater pools right here. So it's absolutely stunning and great to go swimming. And then sailing across the islands are also very, 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 very popular, especially on the island of Fayal, the Blue Island. So you have Fayal, where sailing is really, really important to them. This is actually a picture of their marina, and it used to be customary that if you're traversing the Atlantic and you stopped in Fayal, which was a mandatory stop, to go to Peter's Cafe. Definitely encourage you to look that up. And you stop, yachters definitely always stopped. It was customary at one point, as you can see on the yellow one here, it says 1985, to paint your, to leave a little memento that you have stopped there. To go back to this picture, actually, in the background there, that's the island of Pico. So you can see how the top of the mountain is actually above cloud level. Absolutely stunning. Again, this town of Fayal, the main town is Horta. Again, very, very popular for sailors across the world. Again, it was beautiful. Now, this is the island that has the most recent volcanic activity. It was a long time ago, so don't worry about it. But as you can see, it kind of left this here. So the kind of the lava cooled, obviously, and left this very rugged terrain. So you have the verdant green hillsides, and then you have the dry volcanic scenery as well. Graciosa, the gracious one, very beautiful. It's the third smallest island, or second smallest island actually. Small little town, Santa Cruz de Graciosa, and here it is. This is definitely, if you're spending extended time in the Azores, it's definitely worth to go to Graciosa and look at their windmills, beautifully preserved. Then there's the island of Flores. Flores is that's flowers for Portuguese. So as you can see, these beautiful cascading waterfalls going into these green pastures down below. Then you have Corvo, which is the smallest island with a population of nearly 400. Great for hiking around and really just escaping the world. I mean, that's the main town right there. That what you see there is what it is. In the background, you have Flores. And that's how small the island is. It's very, very small. You can actually, this is the view of it. So everybody lives in that town that you see there. So we kind of covered a little bit about each of the islands. You might be wondering, okay, great, let's go. So I want to let you know that our Quest Travel Adventures is here to help. We offer many different packages, but one of them is a 6-day Azores Adventure Seeker. So you have round-trip transfers included at hotel, breakfast daily, at least 3 excursions on the main island of San Miguel, where you'll rappel down the waterfalls, go canoeing, and then you can bike the volcanic terrain. And maybe we can even include a little spa day towards the end to kind of just unwind. You can also do the 5-day Taste of the Azores. You fly in, you basically just stay in San Miguel. We'll get you a city center hotel if you wish, 2 excursions. It just gives you time to just kind of relax and take in the slow pace of San Miguel. Then if you have a little bit more time, you can do the 8-day Best of the Azores, round-trip transfers, hotel, breakfast daily, 3 excursions, and you go to the main island of San Miguel, and also the festive island or the happy island of Terceira as well. So Quest Travel Adventures, why work with us? Now, we have partnered with the best company on the islands. They are the leading and one of the longest running TMCs on the island. We are happy. We work very closely with them, and we really handpick them out of the many operators that you can choose from. We just know that their service is great. And because of our relationship with this particular company, Quest decided to create these packages, and we have full faith and confidence that you will have an amazing time. But Quest Travel Adventures, you're going to have a point of contact. You can always catch us by phone or email. We create packages that have 5-star hotels, breakfast daily meal. We can include some meals, transfers, guides, excursions. Now, Erica Gustafson, she is our director, and she'll be happy to help. Her email is here on the screen and the phone number. So 1-800-693-1815, and her email there. So hopefully you learned a little bit about the Azores. There are some questions that have come in throughout this session, so I'm happy to help. So should you rent a car? I believe that you should definitely rent a car in the main island. So in San Miguel, it will be easier to get around and to kind of explore the island at your leisure. They do drive on our side, or the correct side, the right side of the road. So no worry about that. I will say, please note that automatic cars can be very limited in numbers on the island. So definitely, if you require automatic transmission, you book those early. Another question is about how much is English spoken around the island and its language. Do they only speak Portuguese? Do people speak English? I'm assuming that's the question. So that's a really interesting question, and thank you for asking that. English is pretty much widely spoken in the main cities. If you go into the smaller towns, you might still encounter some difficulties with the English language. But this is something that I've been pondering, and I've traveled a little bit in other parts of Europe. But in Portugal, overall, English is widely spoken, and I really think it's because they grew up with their television with subtitles versus dubbing. So instead of them speaking over in a Spanish voice, let's say in Spain on an American television show, in Portugal, that same television show will just have subtitles in Portuguese. So they're always accustomed to hearing it. And I really think that makes a huge difference in how a population in a certain destination learns a language and their fluency in it. And just so you have a few words in Portuguese just to know and just in case. I think you should take note of bom dia, which is good day, boa tarde, which is good afternoon, obrigada or obrigado. If you're a male, obrigado, female, obrigada, and that means thank you. And por favor is please. So that should get you around a little bit, at least opening and closing a conversation, get you around. Another question is, what's the best way to get in between the islands? So there is daily services to all of the islands on the airlines, the island's airline, SATA. So SATA Airlines can get you around. In the summertime, there is limited ferry service. If you're in Fayal to Pico, there is almost basically a water taxi that goes back and forth pretty much all day long, because a lot of people in Pico work in Fayal and they come back home to Pico. So that service is always regular. Now, in between the other islands, I would definitely double check to see if the itinerary works out. It's not as often. But service does increase during the summer months on the ferries. So the best way really is to fly in between and SATA Airlines, or definitely highly recommended. Or if you have a little bit more time, you can actually go on the ferry. So that is it for now. I want to thank you guys all again for joining me.